All right, another school tragedy in KZN. The Somashi High School principal in Msinga, KwaZulu-Natal, was shot in his office on Friday. The Education Department has condemned the incident. For more on this, we're joined by the province's Education MEC, Kwazi Mshengu. Mr. Mshengu, thank you very much for your time here on eNCA. Now, this incident, according to your report, happened at around 1:30 in the afternoon. Were there any pupils who were there, teachers who were there and witnessed the principal getting shot?
Yes, indeed. In fact, the incident happened just as when learners were dispersing from school at around 2 o'clock. And when the gate was opened for the learners to disperse home, apparently a VW Golf entered the school at a high speed. And as learners were scattering all the directions to avoid being crashed by this car, two men alighted from the vehicle and went straight to the principal's office and then shot him at point blank range. And as the learners and teachers heard about the gunshot, they also dispersed in different directions. The two men then went back to the car and then they took off. In about a kilometer's distance, the car apparently overturned. And they then hijacked another educator who was coming from a different school. They took her back and then tried to run away with it. Fortunately, the educator then alerted his insurance company, the tracking device. Then the car was able to be, or the suspects were caught around the area of Greytown. And as the police were catching them, they also got information that it is the same suspect that had actually shot the teacher at Somashi High School.
Mm. Now, with the pupils having seen this incident or some of them having heard the shots, is there any counselling that the department is offering to pupils, teachers, and probably even pupils' parents?
Indeed, we are offering counselling as the Department of Education starting today, because the incident happened on Friday, which was the last schooling day for the term. But matriculants were expected to be in school yesterday because they are not closing because we are trying to catch up with the lost time. But we then cancelled the matric classes yesterday, but today they are back in school receiving counselling with the hope that by tomorrow they will be able to resume their studies. And this counselling is also offered to the educators. We will then be making contact with the other learners who are not in matric, also to extend the counselling support, because they witnessed this gruesome incident, which obviously will be in their mind for the longest time if they don't get enough counselling.
MEC, I know that this is a reflection, whatever happens at our schools is basically a reflection on society, but what are we going to do about school safety in KZN? Besides the fact that KZN is already a province known for instance, political killings and assassinations, you were also at the Somashi High School not so long ago, where you actually had to deal with pupils who admitted to being part of a gang. What are we going to do to try and make sure that educators and pupils are safe at our schools?
Well, the biggest problem here is that we are dealing with societal problems, because these challenges actually happen in societies and they spill into our schools. We are trying by all means as a Department of Education to ensure that our schools are safe, including refencing all those schools that were not properly fenced or whose fencing had been destroyed by the same communities. We have employed community safety volunteers to be in schools, and we are also working with the police to ensure that there is police visibility and continuous patrolling from time to time in different parts of our schools. But in spite of all those measures that we have put into place, we continue to witness such incidences. That is why we continue to call for communities to be vigilant and be able to fight against all these incidences where they are planned, which is at a community level, be it gangsterism or any other forms of violence, as it were. Currently, the allegations are that the principal who was shot, it is as a result of the faction fight in the community. Now, those are the instances that, as a Department of Education, we can barely do anything about, because they are out of our reach. Unfortunately, the killing had to happen in our school because it means that they basically targeted our school as a soft target to kill this particular principal. But we really wanted to request our communities that alone as Department of Education will not be able to fight this battle. We need our communities to claim back their schools, to ensure that their schools are safe, to ensure that all these ills that we find in our societies, they don't spill into our schools because they disrupt teaching and learning. I mean, already we have lost time for matric, and we had planned that they are not going to close. Yesterday they had to cancel classes because of this incident. So already the matriculants are impacted by this particular act. So without our communities, we will not win. But be that as it may, we'll continue to make sure that we put all safety measures in our schools and hope that the communities will now really rise up and deal with all these criminal elements.
Have you been to see the family of the principal to console them, to speak to them?
I will be at school tomorrow and also see the family of the principal. So all those processes will happen tomorrow.
Well, thank you very much. That's KZN's Education MEC, Kwazi Mshengu.